casuals!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3VO podcast, where we are all on the same team. I'm one of your hosts, Brendan.
And I'm the other one, Jordan.
And if you're new here, we're just two big old nerds who love to share our love of video games with everybody. So if you too are a lover of video games, then this is the show for you. It's time for Patch Notes. As always, we're going to start by checking in. Jordan, how you doing?
I've been doing pretty good. I want to run through something with you here real quickly here, Brendan.
Okay, yeah.
This is something I just want an exercise I want you to do with me real quickly here.
Oh, I'm not nervous at all.
No. We're both avid D&D players. So we're going to do a little bit of role playing here, right?
Okay.
So you are going to be a customer of the company Wizards of the Coast.
Okay.
Maker of fine things such as D&D campaigns and things of the sort, and pretty much all things Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm going to be the company Wizards of the Coast.
Okay.
In this scenario.
Okay.
Okay. So I just want you to react as Brendan. You're not anybody else. You are Brendan.
I am me. Okay.
So I'm going to throw some stuff at you. I just want you to react to it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm me.
Yeah, you're me. I'm Wizards of the Coast. You ready?
I'm you.
No. You're Brendan.
I'm me.
I'm Wizards of the Coast. Jordan's not involved in this now.
Okay.
Jordan's gone.
No, I know.
He's disappeared.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
All right. Hey, Brendan, how's it going, man? You doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Doing good. Hey,
yeah.
I hope you're still enjoying all the stuff we give you, the campaigns, updates on D&D and things like that.
I love it. All the source books and all the material coming out with. Yeah,
that's great. So speaking of the source books and all this and stuff coming out, we've done some internal looking into our lore and some of the things from like some things we've had in the past, and we've realized that like some of it's a little. I don't know. It's a little problematic. Yeah, like some of the stuff with like anyone that isn't light skinned or pale is like considered evil.
That's been a known issue for some time.
Right. It's basically been homebrewed out of a bunch of like personal campaigns, stuff like that. So we're just gonna internally go ahead and go through some of the old lore, some of the stuff that barely anybody pays attention to anymore, and we're just gonna take some of that out. Or like the campaigns will stay the same, the content's gonna be the same, but just some of the lore is gonna be changed a little bit, just to kind of update it so that way people can feel more included and like they're not have a little bit just make it feel more inclusive for like other players joining the game and whatnot. I hope just want to give you the heads up that we're going to be doing
Interesting. You seem a little behind the times, Wizards of the Coast.
Absolutely. This should have been done ages and ages ago.
Truly.
It really should have been done ages ago, but like we're finally getting to it.
And I feel like maybe this isn't the first that you've heard of this.
Definitely not. No. This is definitely something we should have taken care of a long time ago.
Yeah.
But we're finally doing it, but I'm guessing based on your action that you're excited about.
Oh no, absolutely.
So you view this as a good thing?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. So if you think that this is a bad thing, you're the fucking problem. This is why the only people you can hang out with is incel racist douchebags. Shut up.
Okay, I have literally no idea what you're talking
about.
Yeah. I don't have my finger on the beat of like pop D&D / Wizards of the Coast.
So Wizards of the Coast recently announced that they would be changing a lot of their older lore based around some of this stuff because it is problematic and whether or not directly racist or not is based on sort of like old racist rhetoric, i.e. if you're not white, you're evil. So they're taking a lot of that stuff out, and some people online have just flipped out over it for no fucking reason other than to say they're changing my thing and I hate it.
Boo-hoo.
I actually saw somebody comment with the article. I think it was a Kotaku article. I think I saw. I don't remember, but comment with it, and they just said, "This is why gatekeeping is a good thing." I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" And then turn into this whole like jerk off fest between them and their douchebag friends, talking about just going, "This is when all the real fans are gonna leave." Like, what is your fucking ego that you think that you're the only ones that matter in this community? Seriously? Yeah.
Okay, bye. Leave.
Yeah. You don't fucking. Yeah. Nobody wants you here anyway. Shut up. Like
it's like the same people that are leaving League of Legends because they don't want new people picking it up because of the show Arcane.
I've never understood the mentality of just kind of like from the point I get of it being like, well, it's going to become popular, therefore they're going to start doing things to make sure it stays popular and da 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 da. But if changes are coming in the basis of like we're trying to be progressive, we're trying to make things better and more inclusive. Why would you be upset about that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to totally conflate those two things. Those are very different things.
No. You're fine.
But like, it's
one's a little bit more hipster than the other one is.
Yeah. But like, it's sort of, it comes kind of from the same place, I think, of like,
this is my thing.
I don't want to include other people. This is my thing.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, you know, as always here, we're not about the gatekeeping here at 3VO. So just wanted to bring that up real quickly here and say that if you hear that something is trying to be less racist and that makes you mad, maybe you're the issue. Just throwing it out there real quick.
Like, I just don't understand where, like, the possessiveness comes from.
It's from the people who think that this thing belongs to them.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Especially, I don't know. You're a fan of something, and that's wonderful, and you're allowed to be a fan of something. That does not give you ownership over something that you didn't make.
Yeah.
I mean, you consumed it, you enjoy it, and that's wonderful, but you didn't fucking make it. Like, however much I love Mass Effect, I don't have rights to say what they should be doing with Mass Effect just because I'm a huge fan. That doesn't matter.
Yeah. I get that. Could you give me like a tangible example of like one of the things that they're changing? I guess I just don't. I'm not as familiar with like the problematic items.
Yeah, so
I know that they're there.
Yeah,
but like,
so what the basic thing that I know about that they've kind of talked about in the article is pretty much the alignment of like good and evil based on like what kind of race you go by. You know what I mean? So like traditionally like orcs and the drow are more aligned with like evil and things like that, but that is also associated with the fact that they have different colored skin than being like pale white and stuff like that.
Okay.
Particularly with the drow, because they are essentially dark elves and they are the evil counterpart to pretty much all the other elven races out there. So it's originally in terms of like the lore and stuff from what I know. So it's just like they're just changing that and going like, hey, maybe just because they have a different skin tone that doesn't make them
inherently make them evil or
that's it. That's all they're doing is going, maybe it's more about the character and the person and the decisions and choices that they make as opposed to their skin tone, where they came from, what race they are, you know.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Just trying to like not make that into something that has people playing it from ages as young as like 5 years old. Maybe not instilling that ideology in them at a young age is maybe kind of a fucking good idea. Maybe. Just as a thought. I don't know.
It sounds like somebody's worldview got a little challenged and they didn't like it.
Maybe just a little bit. Other than that, though, I've been great. How's about you?
I'm great. As of the recording of this, I am 6 weeks away from my wedding.
Yes! I'm very excited about this.
I feel fine.
Yeah, okay.
It's not like... I realize it sounded like sketchy.
No, what I read that as was you like realized you was like, I feel fine. Oh my god, I'm fine. Like
I feel like I should be more panicked than I am. Does that make sense?
I feel like that, having just seen my dad go through it, it wasn't that like he got panicked and like cold feet and wanted to run away. Yeah. It was that at rehearsal dinner was when he was like, oh, this is happening. Right. Like it hit him like there. And then on the wedding day, and even on the wedding day, he was just like, yeah, I'm really doing this, aren't I? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, you're doing it.
I'm not even worried about all of that. I'm super ready to get married to the love of my life.
Of course.
But like, it's all of the planning. I'm like, am I forgetting about something? I'm certain I'm forgetting about something. Like, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna be like, I have nothing to wear. Like, something silly.
I forgot my suit.
Yeah, or like, oh my god, this venue's a hole in the ground. Something will go catastrophically wrong because I didn't think of it.
It's gonna turn up somehow and it's just a dumpster for some reason. Exactly. You're just like, how?
I've been to this venue twice, and it's somehow a giant ball pit. I don't know.
Turned into a meteor's gonna hit the day before, and then just. Although I will say, if you got married outside of like a meteor like hit site, that'd actually be pretty fucking rad. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how close we'd be allowed to get, but. Be pretty fucking sweet in my opinion.
How fresh is the meteor?
That's true. All these things are taken into consideration.
So, I'm feeling good.
Okay.
I genuinely am. We had a call with the venue today, and they were like, so we're going to go over everything that was TBD in the last meeting. And we were like, okay. And they like started going through, and they were like, oh, we really did a good job in the first meeting. We didn't really leave a lot of things TBD. So they like checked on a couple of things, and they were like, okay, it sounds good. We'll talk to you like 10 days out from the wedding. And I was like... That's it?
Yeah.
Oh god, there's gotta be more, right? Like, I just feel like, I don't know, I have like an impending sense of I've forgotten something.
It's that like right after a dress rehearsal feeling when you realize you open the next day, you're like, wait, no, so we're done? We're just going up. That's it. Nothing else to do. We're just going.
No more prep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Honestly, pretty much.
Cool. I guess we're going now. Great.
So there's all of that. There's also an audition posting got thrown up recently on the Facebooks, and I am very much thinking about auditioning for it. So I'm thinking, I know I should. I need to. And then I start my quiz mastering this week. So by the time this episode goes up, I'll have been quizzing for a couple of weeks.
You will have been a quiz master for quite a while.
I will have quiz mastered. Yeah, so I'm a busy boy.
Hard cut to the next episode. So I'm no longer a quiz master. I'm sorry.
The gang fucks it up. Like,
I'm sorry. I should not have put that energy out there. I'm so sorry. That was really mean of me.
I think I'm good. I feel very confident.
You're gonna be great. It's gonna be excellent.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get I'm gonna get one of the days off soon, and I want to just to come in and like go see how you quiz.
Thank you. Hopefully, wow.
It'll be great. I have absolute faith.
I do too. I think it'll be great. They make it really easy.
Yeah,
it's all through an app.
So it's like it's pretty.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you're smarter than the average cookie anyway, so.
They do call me Hermione.
It's mostly with love.
Mostly.
A solid 7 times out of 10. It's not because we're annoyed with you.
But those 3 times.
Those 3 times though, yeah.
All right, well, now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, it's time to talk about what we're here to talk about today. It's another episode of Filthy Casual, so it's one of our laid-back, relaxed, kick your shoes off, enjoy type shows. Can you sit up?
I was told I was allowed to kick back and relax.
Not us. We have to work.
Oh, fine.
All of the lovely listeners out there, they can sit back and relax.
Wait, so then it's the implication that on every episode they have to be like in a suit, properly dressed, like sitting up listening to our show?
I thought that was pretty obvious, didn't you?
No, I thought so too. Just making sure that we get that cemented for this episode.
Yeah, if it's not clear, you have to put on a full 3-piece suit, dress shoes, the whole 9, to listen to any of our podcast episodes that are not Filthy Casuals.
And no fucking laughing. I swear to God, if I find out that you were enjoying listening to this show, ugh.
Today we're talking about narrative-driven video games. This is a wide topic. It's a very wide topic, and it's even wider than I thought it was going to be originally.
About how wide would you say? Like about...
wider.
I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing right now.
It's Filthy Casual.
It is.
For a reason.
I'm so sorry.
We gotta get casual and we gotta get filthy.
Just being a fucking nightmare today, I guess.
So we're talking about narrative-driven video games, and I think that we should start by defining what a narrative-driven video game is, because I think... having done some research into this topic, I think that term gets kind of thrown out a little incorrectly at times. And I'll kind of elaborate why. But I want to start by just asking you, like, what do you think a narrative-driven game is?
To me, it would be anything where the primary focus isn't... I'm trying to think how to put this. Like... I mean, I would say if anything where it's like even if multiplayer is included, the primary focus of the game isn't necessarily with multiplayer. It's in the story for the main campaign.
Okay.
Like you're primarily playing it for the story of the game.
Okay. Interesting. And like that was kind of my first like thought too, was like, oh, well, it's a game that like focuses on the story.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of what the casual meaning of like what people are getting at when they say, oh, I like this game because it's narrative driven.
Yeah.
Right? It's even broader than that.
Really?
Yeah. So when I say that we're here to talk about narrative-driven games, I think what I actually mean is that we're here to talk about the games that are very heavily focused on storytelling and have great storytelling.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So here's kind of what I've come across in my research. Basically, video games can fall into one of 2 categories: gameplay-driven and narrative-driven. It comes about, or it can be defined, by how the game was kind of conceived. So let me... You're getting me.
I'm getting where you're going here. Yeah. Okay.
So, if a game developer wakes up one morning and is like, I want to create a game that's about this guy who wakes up in a forest, and then he meets a guy, and this propels him into this adventure. That's a narrative-driven video game because it's centered around the story and the rest of the game is kind of developed around it.
Yeah, that is so like in a game of equivalence for maybe something we've talked about, that is like a Wolf Among Us. Guy walks into an apartment where there's a disruption. He is trying to figure out what's going on and how to solve that. Yeah,
exactly. And then from there on, the like story is like the central focus of the game.
Yes,
right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then you have the opposite end of the spectrum, which is gameplay driven. That's a developer wakes up one morning and says, I want to create a game that is about picking up objects and fucking with the perspective, and they can get bigger or smaller or whatever. And then a somewhat story is like kind of cultivated around that. And what I've just described is, of course, Superliminal,
yes.
which we've covered on the show.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I imagine Superliminal, how it got developed.
Oh yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I would say like a more like socially known example would also be like your Portals or like something like that. Where it's there was definitely someone who was like, I want to do something with like how people think of like how to get through a room using portals, and then the story is developed around that mechanic.
Exactly.
I see. Okay.
So that doesn't mean necessarily that a game can't have great storytelling or great gameplay if it's narrative driven or gameplay driven, but that is how games kind of fall into one or two camps, right?
Well, as we always talk about on the show, just like especially as like time goes on and like the medium itself gets more complex and different ideas and viewpoints come into play, the spectrum for like what category shit fits into is constantly getting blurred like every single day. So
right, and that's kind of what the conclusion that I came to too is like, as with most things, the lines are getting blurred.
Yeah. I got you.
So when I approached this episode and I wanted to talk about, I want to talk about narrative-driven games, what we really meant is we want to talk about games that are really great at storytelling.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
We're talking about games with great stories, basically.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So, which, and again, could be a narrative-driven or a story-driven, or a gameplay-driven.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Totally. It doesn't matter. Also, I think that there's really no way of knowing 100% what camp a game falls into. Like, you can only get a really good impression of it, right?
Yeah.
Because like a game like Superliminal, I think pretty definitively you can say that's a gameplay driven game.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think people woke up one day and were like, we want to do a game that's like this. Like, this is the mechanics, the gameplay, the, like, central conceit is, like, this kind of mechanic, and then the story developed around it.
Right.
Versus a game like Wolf Among Us, where it's like, oh, no, we have this story, and we're going to build a game around that.
Yeah, and the mechanics are there specifically to help further the story along.
Correct.
Yes.
Exactly.
And predominantly to help the player control the narrative of said story as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are like, I would say that those are like the extremes on the spectrum. Like a Telltale game or like a Superliminal are like firmly, you can say like 100% this is gameplay, 100% this is story driven.
Yes.
Anything else I think kind of is a little loosey goosey, like a Legend of Zelda. I don't know where I would put that, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
you see what I mean?
That's tough. The Legend of Zelda one's a little bit tough because I feel like I don't know. I feel like originally you'd be able to say it. Like the first two Zelda games, you could probably say just like these were but not even that, because I think then it's like these are the tools we have that we can use.
Right.
And here's like the little bit of a plot that we have to sort of like tie it all together. So yeah, no, you're right.
I feel like the first ones are definitely more gameplay driven. For sure. Right. And then as it developed, I think it got a lot more narrative driven.
Yeah.
But I think those two things kind of grew up together.
Yes, definitely.
But that's what I'm getting at. Is like
I see what you mean.
It's a little hard to put one into one camp or the other with lots of games now.
Definitely. Yeah. I see what you mean.
So I don't want to go so far as to say like this is a narrative driven game 100% definitively with the definition that we've purported.
Yeah.
That's all I'm getting.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
That being said, we want to talk about games that tell great stories, because that we can put a finger on.
Yes.
And we've talked about plenty of games like that on the show already, such as The Wolf Among Us, Mass Effect, Outlast, Spiritfarer, Ori and the Blind Forest, It Takes Two, Jedi Fallen Order, and Layers of Fear.
I would like to start with Mass Effect just like a little bit here, because I think it's for anyone who listens to our content, they know that is like the one that I think we match up the most on in terms of like being fans of.
Yeah.
But I also think it's one that I think started as more in the camp of the narrative-driven, or like the story-driven one.
I think it's 100% narrative.
Yeah, but then sort of became a gameplay driven game. You know
Tell
what I mean?
me more.
Well, just because like when you look at the mechanics from Mass Effect 1 into Mass Effect 2, almost not that like everything changed about like the first one is a shooter with those mechanics, but just like Mass Effect 2 plays like a more traditional third-person shooter than Mass Effect 1 does. Mass Effect 1 is a more traditional RPG with like a small shooter element to it than if anything else. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But even like the mechanics of like how dialogue works in Mass Effect 2, you have the Renegade and Paragon options that pop up on you. It just it feels a bit more traditional. It gives it more like traditional gamey feel, if that makes sense. And as opposed to one where it is just the scroll wheel of like picking the dialogue options and whatnot, which is still there, but now you have an extra element. It's kind of like you gotta make sure you're paying attention. though. It's a video game.
But I think the most important thing about Mass Effect is the story that it's telling.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And like the gameplay supports that, not the other way around.
That is true.
And I think that's kind of where the difference is.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
One is in support of the other, and in the case of Mass Effect, gameplay is there in support of the story.
Right. Obviously, this is a very nebulous topic. You know. It's one of those things that it's like hard to pin down, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah. You just know, like, no, this is a story game. Well, like,
exactly.
the big example is this stuff like Layers of Fear, which is something that is like there's no mechanics other than walking around, looking at things, picking things up. So it's like that's very clearly you're there for the narrative of that story.
Exactly. And it's not. This is what I've also come to realize. I think that with narrative-driven games, you don't have as much room to like, or you don't tend to have as much room to like do groundbreaking gameplay work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I have this story that I want to tell. How am I going to do that with like things that exist already?
Right.
Versus like a superliminal where it's like, I want to create the new thing, the new mechanic or the new gameplay, whatever.
Yeah.
How do I do that and then tell a story with it?
Yeah.
You know,
I have an idea for a puzzle game that I don't think anyone has done for a puzzle game. So that's what I want to do. And my story is going to be driven around that.
Yeah.
Which to me is just crazy because it's like it's again in the comparison, especially with something like Superliminal, which I know we've already done a whole episode ranting about. But like that, the way you said that makes sense though. It totally makes sense that it would be mechanic first and then story later. But just Superliminal is such an interesting story to it too.
It is interesting, but it's also not like groundbreaking.
It's not groundbreaking, but it's I don't know the maybe it's a personal thing, but like as we talked about in the episode, just like that ending really touched me in a certain way.
Yeah.
So it's like to get that level of a narrative out of something that started purely out of like I have a fun gameplay mechanic I would like to play with is super interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think Portal does a similar thing. You brought up Portal as like a gameplay-driven game, which I totally agree with. But it also has a really kind of interesting story and really fun, compelling characters, and you know.
True, but I mean, just like Portal to me it's very fun.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Just like there's nothing. I mean, I'm sure there's people who tell me I'm wrong, but there's nothing. The story for Portal is very superficial, if that makes sense. Like there's not a lot to like. Everything that is in that story is there to be quirky and to sort of move the game along to the next place where you get to try out different and new mechanics.
And I think
that sense,
I think you could say the same thing about Superliminal. Even though it's touching, even though the ending's like touching.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And it has some like, you know, gravity to it.
Yeah.
It's there to support the gameplay.
That is true. Yeah. No, you make a good point. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about narrative.
Just in a general sense, we're not here to just keep talking about how much we love Superliminal.
Well, yeah.
Even though we do.
Even though we do. So as we've covered, we've talked a lot about other narrative-driven games on the podcast. We lean towards them when selecting video games, so it's only sensible that we talk a lot about it on the podcast.
Typically, it's true.
Some that we haven't talked about on the show yet, that are also really, really great. Narrative-driven games are things like recent release 12 minutes.
I just need to actually beat 12 minutes is the thing.
Yeah.
Because for a game called 12 minutes, I've sunk in about 7 hours in that fucking insanely weird goddamn game.
I concur and commiserate.
It's amazing. It's fucking brilliant. And it literally has 3 of my favorite fucking actors in the game. So it's awesome on that sense. And that one to me definitely fits into the camp of like, this is definitely a story-driven game.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, because like at its basic level, as far as like the mechanics go, it's a point and click.
It's a point and click. Exactly.
It's a point and click. And it works great for the game, and it's super interesting, but just like, the game's a head fuck.
Yeah, totally. I've only gotten one ending.
Yeah, I think I've gotten like...
It was the bad ending.
Yeah, I think I've gotten like 2 or 3
wow.
endings, because it doesn't end. You're caught in the... You're
stuck in that loop.
Yeah, you're stuck in a 12-minute loop that just happens over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for your character in the game. And the more things you explore within it, the more you find out about like what is actually the background of your character, your wife's character, this mysterious bald gentleman who keeps busting into your apartment claiming he's a cop and then murdering everybody.
Yeah. We would call that the like definition that we would give that is like a branching narrative game.
Yes.
Wherein you have like a lot of different like dialogue options and they branch off and like different things happen as a result of the dialogue options that you take. That's a branching narrative game.
Yeah,
it's like a Telltale game, like Wolf Among Us or the Walking Dead game.
Yeah,
it's like that. It's just a really condensed branching narrative game.
Yes,
really condensed.
Oh my god, yeah.
But also super vast. Like we've been playing it for hours and we still don't have all the endings. So like,
that to me is a prime example of like level economy in terms of like how much content can we pack into literally just this apartment space, and that's it.
Yeah.
You have 2 areas, and one of them is the hallway before you go into your apartment, and you never fucking go back there again, as far as I know.
Yeah, I have never been.
Yeah, because every time I try to leave, it just starts the fucking cycle over again.
Yeah.
So, did you know you could just kill your wife and try that move?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna try. I wasn't trying to kill my wife, by the way. Sorry, slight tangent into 12 minutes. Wasn't trying to kill her. Was trying to be like, the fucking guy's gonna come in here. He's gonna tie you up. Hold on to this. You could cut yourself out and explain that shit. And instead, I just went ka-cha and stabbed her, and I was like, it's not what I was trying to do at all.
No. Yeah. I've got her like electrocuted on the light switch too.
Did that one too?
Yeah.
Did that one too for sure.
It's a weird game. Y'all should play it.
Absolutely. Check it out. Another one that is free on Game Pass.
Yep, it's on Game Pass.
Free on Game Pass. Can't imagine it's like crazy expensive if you go anywhere else.
We should just be the poster children for the Game
we always end up promoting.
We always Xbox.
Yeah.
Call us.
It's almost like we're 2 broke assholes, and all the games we can play are the ones that come out for free on Game Pass. Because we're already signed up for Game Pass.
That's the new title of the podcast. It's 2 broke assholes.
2 broke assholes. That will not do well algorithmically.
So some other games that I have here that I know to be or believe to be very narrative driven. I have Control.
I still need to play Control. I know about it. I've seen stuff from it. It looks awesome. I just got to sit down and play it.
It's one that I think once you play it, I think we'll want to cover it on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I watched Garrett play through it, a lot of it, so I didn't get the full scope of it, but it's equally kind of mind-fucky and also a third-person shooter, and
that doesn't surprise me because
really
I know
cool story that's happening. Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me because I know the same company made another game previously called Quantum Break.
Okay.
That tried to. It's like the game didn't work that well to me. I applaud it for its attempt at what it was doing, but it tried to do like this thing. I think it was originally going to be like an episodically released thing because that's the way the game's kind of broken up. And there's like live action cutscenes that happen in between the episodes.
Interesting.
That sort of bridge the gap. They were trying to do a bunch of different stuff with it that I think just like it was sort of like too many eggs in one basket. That's not the metaphor at all. But anyway, but they're trying to do too much in one thing. Yeah. Just like there was too many ideas just being like, it was the Key and Peele sketch about Gremlins 2, just like no bad ideas, everything goes in, just throw it in there.
Right, they were trying to do too much, and then they ended up not doing all of it effectively when they should have just focused on a few things.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I think on that one, the focus should have been just like the story and like the game and like the primary mechanics of like how to use. Because it's supposed to be about like how your character can start to like bend time around them and like use time and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
And like it starts cool, but then just like as you develop through the game, it just sort of ends up becoming like a generic shooter with like some interesting powers to it, and it just it doesn't quite
I hear you.
work.
Okay.
And they try to do like narrative breakoffs that also kind of end up sort of just like always ending up into the same like line and feed and stuff. I don't know. It was just like it didn't hold my attention too much.
Okay.
But Control looks super interesting.
Control is
to me, so I
really
want to try that out.
Yeah. Next up, I have like Undertale, also totally a narrative-driven game.
100%, and it's a delightful narrative-driven game. We need to talk about that one on this podcast.
I need to play it again.
It's such a good time. I love that game so much.
I don't even know what I did the first playthrough. I'm sure that I killed people.
Yeah, I got lucky. I watched a little bit of somebody else play it, and they had somebody going like, so there's the two basic runs. There's pacifist, and I think they call it the genocide run or something.
Yes, they do.
because in what you just have to kill everything.
Right.
Basically, you have to kill everything in this world, and that is heartbreaking because literally everything in that world is so cute and delightful. Why would you kill it?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's just that one is an interesting one to me too because the game mechanic in that one it's another one where it's like I mean, this makes sense. I'm a fucking millennial, but I love fourth wall breaking, and that game is just like the first character you meet aside from Flowey is literally a character whose name is taking off of tutorial. Like,
yeah. I also have Dragon Age, like Dragon Age Inquisition.
This is where we should have brought my wife on because is somebody who would be able to talk about this.
Totally.
It's another BioWare game. I know people love it. It's just never been one that
you grabbed.
It's such a pure RPG, and that's just has never been my fucking speed. I couldn't do Knights of the Old Republic from back in the day because it's the same thing. Just like Mass Effect works for me as an RPG because it has that more third person shooter element to it. So it's I don't know. The story's a little bit more intriguing to me on that one, and especially with the video game, it's like if I can't be. And it's not. I'm not saying that the mechanics of Dragon Age are bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this like if I can't vibe with your mechanics, at a certain point, it doesn't matter how good your game is. I'm not going to hang out.
Yeah, that's fair. I hear you. I hear you. But the storytelling is good.
From what I know, it is fucking top notch.
Right.
Other than Dragon Age 2, which I know nobody likes.
Oh,
because apparently it wasn't. Apparently it wasn't great.
Sorry, Dragon Age 2.
I'm just don't shoot the messenger. Is just the word I got. Okay, I remember when that game came out and everyone was mad.
What are some narrative-driven games? Like, what comes to your mind when you think about like a good narrative-driven game or something that's really good and at telling the story?
First examples for me are always going to be because this was the first time I heard about the narrative-driven games. It would be like the Telltale games,
yeah.
Which is like a lot of my familiarity is with the Walking Dead games and like the Wolf Among Us, which we covered on this show and whatnot. Yeah. I should get you to play some of the Walking Dead ones too at some point.
Yeah, I started and then I don't know, I just like fell off.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If you're not into zombies, it's probably not going to like.
Well, I didn't watch The Walking Dead.
Oh, see, I read the comic for a long time, so it was I was into it for that too.
Yeah.
But they're still really, really well done games, and if you like that Telltale like style of storytelling,
which
and,
I do,
and whatnot, I think it would still be worth it to go through.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So those are the big ones, but even just like kind of thinking, I don't know. Now that you got me thinking a little bit more outside of the box in terms of like that's not the only examples of like the story-driven games. I would say another good example, to me, of something we've covered on the podcast too, would be, even though I hate the second one, the Outlast series I think is a pretty good example.
Yes.
Because that was, that to me is a little bit more of a question on like chicken or the egg.
Oh, okay.
Because the story for that one is very intriguing. And I could see that would be someone who's like, I have this idea of like this guy trapped in an asylum trying to get out. But I also see somebody going kind of that same approach, but from a gameplay mechanic of like, there's a guy trapped in this area, he can't attack anything, and he just has to try to run to leave. I can kind of see that kind of going either way in terms of like which came first, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would lean towards the narrative being developed first, because that story is really compelling, and I think I think it's the gameplay supports the story, not the story supporting the gameplay.
Interesting.
And the reason, like, okay, if you came up with the idea for Outlast, the whole plot and the story and everything, and then you go, okay, so how are we going to do this game-wise? Yeah. I think the thing that would come to light is like, oh, well, it should be really hard. Like, you shouldn't, like, what am I trying to say? I think what Outlast is, like, the no weapons, you only have yourself and a camera. I think that's what would develop naturally.
Yeah.
based on the story that you want to tell.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus the other direction, which would be like, okay, if people got together and they were like, we're gonna make a survival game, and you have no no weapons, you only have yourself and a camera. I don't know that the Outlast story would arise from that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is one of those things like I can't say for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Nobody can say for sure except the game developer.
Yeah, it's true.
So
yeah, here's the only reason why that I disagree with that. At a certain point. And it's because this to me sort of screams the philosophy of like I feel like we talked about it before. This story of like Mario 64 with the chasing the bunny. You got that little part in the game where you chase the bunny around?
Yeah. That was like that
was like the testing
test.
mode. Yeah, that was the gameplay test mode because the original. I don't know if it still is, but the original Nintendo model was you come up with the gameplay mechanic and then you just sort of like you just use that over and over and over again and add things around that mechanic until you run out of ideas and then you're done with your game. Outlast sort of has that feel to me because each area sort of has the same feel of like the mechanic of like activate a thing, hide, run, activate another thing, hide, move on to the next area without dying. And that kind of that gameplay mechanic sort of translates to each area in the game. So that would be my only thing for thinking like that mechanic may have come first and then story came to sort of surround that. Maybe.
I don't think either one of us could definitively.
We absolutely no. And I'm not trying to say I'm right because yours 100% makes sense too. I'm just saying that out of a lot of them, like I feel like we could probably take a pretty big guess that, especially after with knowing it because we did a lot of research on it. But like Mass Effect story came first, and then mechanics came afterwards.
Like clearly,
yeah. But something, even though it is narrative driven, like a game series that I love, like something like Dead Space, mechanics for that game came first. The storyline more than likely came afterwards. Same thing probably with like a Resident Evil or something like that. More likely the mechanics of like the puzzles and the zombies and blah blah blah. That came first, and then the story was sort of there around it.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense in Resident Evil because the story in Resident Evil is always a mess. I mean it with love. I'm a diehard Resident Evil fan. However, the story is always a mess. But it's a delightfully fun mess. So who cares?
Right. And I think honestly when it comes down to it, like making the difference between this is a narrative driven game versus this is a gameplay driven game is kind of immaterial. Like who cares?
Oh, ultimately it doesn't matter.
What I mean?
Absolutely.
We can't say with certainty based on the definition that we've said, we can't say for sure. So what we're really honing in on is stories that are being told effectively through the game.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about we've named a lot of games.
We have.
That we're like, oh my god, this is great. This is a narrative driven game. We like this, whatever. Yeah. What makes the storytelling good?
Yeah, that's complicated.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know, because like to me anyway, with a video game, it's in terms of telling your story, it's more structured the way that like you would have to structure a novel or a book. Like it would have to be, because it's like, and not that there are games that only last like about the length of a movie that work well and do really well. Talked about it before. You could burn through a Portal game if you're good at the game. You could burn through it in like maybe 3 hours.
Yeah,
but like with a game like with something like Mass Effect or a Final Fantasy game, you're talking 60, 70 plus hours of just straight through the plot. Like you're running at least 20 to 30 hours of that game, no matter what. So it's like, how do you fill that time without making it feel like you're just filling the time?
Yeah.
And it's just beyond just like expanding the world and creating a bigger world for people to explore. How do you still make it feel like you're working towards something? Which is where I think some games tend to get a little bit lost at times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like games can definitely lose the plot.
Yeah,
totally. I would say I think the best storytelling happens when everything is working in concert with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like a game like Outlast.
Yeah.
I think is like so perfect at encapsulating kind of what we're honing in.
Everything is harmonious.
Exactly.
In that game.
Exactly. Like, and you feel as much a part of the story as your character. I talked about this. I remember talking about it in the Outlast episode where like when you feel something happen to the character, you feel like it's happening to you.
Oh yeah,
you know, and you have that like sympathetic vibe.
That genuine feeling of sympathy at the end of Outlast as he's limping out of the last area, and you're just kind of like, I really just want this dude to get the fuck out. Like,
yeah, exactly. So a game that it like puts you in the story, it makes you feel like really like part of it, and then the storytelling is evident in everything that's happening. It's like the score, the sound effects, the environment, the like text box, like dialogue, the whole thing, all working together.
When you could tell that somebody thought of like each element, like, I mean, like a recent example, I would say would be something like Jedi Fallen Order. Like, as you mentioned in the episode, you're just like, this feels like Star Wars.
Yes, absolutely.
And being able to have that feeling translate in a video game is so incredible to me.
Yeah.
And important to the narrative of that game, too.
Exactly.
You need to make it feel like you're a part of that world.
Exactly. And that's, like, I think definitively, like, that is a narrative game. There's
100%.
no way it's a gameplay-driven game, right?
Not that the gameplay mechanics aren't, like, perfect in that game. The mechanics of that are so good.
They're pretty good, yeah.
They're a bitch, but...
Right. But that one is, like, that game and that world is something where the story is so important and so integral.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
That has to be story-driven.
Absolutely,
And again, everything is working in concert, and it's really delivering that Star Wars feel.
Yes.
And same with, like, Outlast. It's delivering that, like, horror movie feel, you know? Or, like, Layers of Fear. Again, it's delivering that horror movie feel.
Yeah, but like Layers of Fear and Outlast on that feeling though. Sorry, I know we're sticking to the narrative thing, but like that feeling for both of them are so. No, it does stay because it does stay to this true to what story you're trying to tell. Whereas like Outlast is that adrenaline filled, just like I gotta get the fuck out of here, run. Whereas like with Layers of Fear,
it's more environmental.
It's this constant presence of just kind of like I just feel gross being in this house.
It's like gothic horror.
Yeah, it's 100% gothic horror. Yeah,
exactly.
And to get that in a video game too is a stroke of fucking genius to get across.
Yeah, and I mean it's a little bit more further developed, like a modern horror, but it's gothic-y.
Oh, well, yeah.
But that's the story they wanted to tell, and everything works in concert to tell that story.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So yeah, I think that's what we are talking about when we say like, oh, we like this game because it's really narrative driven. When we say that casually, we mean no, the storytelling is really good.
Yeah.
You know,
I see what you mean.
And it's because all of these elements are working in perfect concert with each other.
Well, and also like at the end of the day too, for just like something that I always think about in terms of just kind of like, no matter how you break it down, human beings have been trying to tell stories since we developed as humans.
Forever, yeah.
It's like you go back to the original caveman paintings. That is them doing their best to tell a story with the tools that they literally have. So it's like...
I'm sorry. No, keep going. But I've got the coolest thing about cave paintings to tell you.
Oh, okay. I'm excited. Okay, let's just make sure we remember this then. But just that, like, it's like... But as time has gone on, more tools and capabilities have been brought to us. First, it was the ability to just like write down words in order to encapsulate the story, and then just like developing new words in order to help get your story across better, and then just like plays, and then movies, and then now we're at like, not that I think it's better than other forms of storytelling, but like now we have video games, which is just such a wide open world of just like how you can tell your story, because it's like at a certain point with television or movies or even with comic books and animation and just like a normal novel, you're a little bit boxed in, whereas like literally just kind of like the budget and the tools you're given for a video game is how you can tell your fucking story, whereas like your scale goes from Undertale to an EA title like Fallen Order, you know what I mean?
Right and you have the whole gamut.
And just like however you want to tell that story, that's fucking great. You need 8 hours, cool. You need 60 hours, great.
Yeah. And I appreciate that too in a game where it's like, no, we only need this much time to tell the story and to do the thing that we want to do and get out.
It's my fucking favorite. When I blow through a game in 8 hours and I feel perfectly satisfied with it, cool. Because I prefer that more to dropping 120 hours in a game and just kind of being like, oh,
this could have been different.
Like this really could have been different. Why did I spend all this fucking time if you're going to do that? Not looking at you, Fallout 3.
Hey, positive spins on games.
I'm sorry. If that's all we were doing, we need to cut everything I've said about Outlast 2.
No,
just saying, like if that's all, if we're exclusively just doing nothing but positive takes, there's a lot of stuff I've said that needs to be taken out of the show.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
What was your cave painting fact?
Okay,
I want to hear this.
So get this. I don't know how long ago this was.
Okay.
But I read about this person that was researching like cave paintings to try to figure out like stuff about our like, ancestors.
Yeah. Clearly.
And they were investigating these cave paintings and they had it all set up and they had their lights in there or whatever and they were like taking photos and looking at it. And they were looking at these cave paintings and they saw that they had like it was like there was like one image here and another image here like painted on top of it. And so they were trying to figure out like why is there this like duplicate like kind of image and like the bottom one is like kind of faded, like what's going on there? Like why didn't they like just paint elsewhere, or why did they paint over these like paintings, or like what's going on there?
Yeah.
Or like why is there this like 6-legged woolly mammoth, or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Really confused.
I've seen that, like whether the painting like it looks like it was over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So get this. I think like a local came in to like assist with like the like heritage or like the whatever, whatever. And they brought a torch in. And they turned off all the lights, and they were like looking at the torch, and the flickering of the flame made it look like two image. Yeah, can you believe?
It made it look like it was like
movement. It had movement.
That's fucking dope. That's so cool.
So our cave painting ancestors were like far more brilliant than we give them
We're
credit
already
for.
trying to like make animation a thing.
Yes,
that's so freaking
like,
cool.
Humans have been animating for thousands of years
since we could put pictures on a wall.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Congratulations, animators. Prostitution is no longer the oldest profession. It is now you.
Well,
Okay, fine. You are just as old as prostitution. How does that sound?
But I thought that was the coolest thing.
That is super cool.
That's
a great, that is like a great, I mean this as like a genuine compliment. That's like the best fun fact to throw out at a party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's genuinely interesting and cool to learn.
So humans have been telling stories for thousands and thousands of years, and now we tell them in the form of video games.
Yeah.
And I brought it all back.
Cave paintings on the wall, video games.
It was a natural progression.
No, I love it. It's great. It's perfect. It is all storytelling, like, no matter what.
No, absolutely.
And just like even in the early days of video games where it was like, I mean, other than starting with like Pong, which is just kind of like the square bouncing back and forth and da-da-da. But once we get to like the Mario and the Zelda days, I would say, is when it goes like, well, how do we use this to tell a story? Mm-hmm. No matter how weird that story is. Because I feel like we don't talk about enough how weird the plot of Mario is. Well, like, it's very fucking bizarre.
I think storytelling in video games predates like Mario, because you have text-based adventures.
You do have text-based. No, you're right.
Before that,
right.
Yeah,
you're 100% right. Oh, that's true.
I mean, I think as long as, you had like text-based adventures on like DOS.
It was it was way before,
ages ago, predating any home consoles or anything.
Which is where I would be. Then how? I'm not saying that it shouldn't count. I'm just wondering how much that counts as a video game.
A text-based adventure.
Yeah.
You played it on a computer.
True.
So is it a video game? This might be a new topic of conversation.
What counts as a video game?
What counts as a video game?
Oh my!
We covered what it takes to be a gamer. So.
I really feel like this. I understand that, but I feel like but that was a shitty way for us to call out assholes. Like that wasn't like we weren't actually trying to define what makes you a gamer. Like I feel like if we go down the road of like what defines a video game, we end up making an unfortunately very douchey podcast.
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, I feel like the Call of Duty game shouldn't really count. Like
that's funny.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like when does it jump?
When does it make that leap between just like it is? Yeah, I mean, well, because here's my thing, and this is against my own argument here, because it's like, because then what else do you call like text-based adventure? Because there's no other, I don't know what else you would call that term other than it just being like, I don't know.
It's like choose your own adventure.
A choose your own adventure campaign,
but on a computer.
Well, no, because at that point too, they had that. That's what originally like the D&D stuff was. It was just you going through and making decisions based on like the narrative and your own story. and like rolling the dice and figuring out.
Those are the
there.
original narrative-driven games.
That's what I mean, though. But it's like, so funny. It's like, is it not just that, but done on a computer screen?
Is that enough to make it a video game? I think so. Right?
You're interacting with it. Yeah, okay. So it's okay. Well, then you're talking about just like then what is the mechanic in which you're using it? Because then it's like, are those old books? Like, where do you put those old books?
Well, if you make a book into a game, is it any less of a game?
Well, no, but you've completely. Well, then your argument is kind of like, is Lord of the Rings the movie still the book? Like, no, because you made it a movie. You adapted it and turned it into something else.
Right. So if you take a choose your own adventure and you digitize it, now it's on a computer and you're playing it through like a game, it's no longer a choose your own adventure.
What, other than the fact that you're clicking now, how are the mechanics different than if you were just reading it from the original text?
It's just as different as in taking a movie with your eyeballs instead of reading it by pages.
Reading a book and watching a movie are very different.
Right.
There have legitimately been studies done on
So
this.
is reading a text so is reading a choose your own adventure versus clicking on a computer.
That's what
okay,
I'm saying. No. What I'm saying is that if I have the book Lord of the Rings in front of me, but I read the Kindle book version instead, that's not different than that.
Oh. So what you're saying is Kindles are video games.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
I'm just kidding.
So I hope you guys enjoy watching Brendan find a new host to do the show with. It's been fun. This was the episode that broke me. Congratulations, you did it, Brendan. I hope you're fucking happy.
Ding. I think this is a really interesting topic that we're not gonna like get to like a conclusion in the time that we have today. But that's like a really interesting topic. Like, where's the jump? Where's the leap? Where
do we make the jump between just like it's just using something? It's just using a different sort of like technology in order to tell a story, and then when does it become a different medium?
So okay, I'll pose a question to you.
Sure.
Solitaire, like on your computer, is that a video game?
I mean, yeah. In its purest form. There's no story to Solitaire, though.
Well, okay, forget story. Like, the presence or absence of a story.
Okay.
Like, immaterial.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and that's what I mean. Like, we're talking about text-based adventures, or like choose your own adventures. Like, you're doing that thing, but on a computer now. So, like, Solitaire, you're doing that thing, but on a computer now.
But, okay. But here's my thing, though, is that's like, fucking, not Tetris. Pong is basically ping pong, but done in a video game. But I wouldn't say it's the same thing as going out with your buddy and playing ping pong.
No, absolutely not.
So what I mean, though, so it's just like playing Solitaire on your computer. Ostensibly, it's the same mechanics, but like it's not the same as pulling out a deck of cards and playing it on a table.
Right. So Solitaire on your computer, you would say, is a video game.
Yes.
Then I think by the transitive property that a text-based adventure on your computer is still a video game, right?
Here's the thing. I don't agree with you, but I don't know if it's just because I don't want to be wrong. I genuinely don't know if it's just because I'm being stubborn. And I'm trying to, decipher if that's what it is. I really don't know. I genuinely...
Okay, let me ask you this, because maybe it's maybe it's the material that we're looking at. Because we're looking at, choose your own adventure books.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to listen to this episode after it comes out, a week afterwards, and I'm going to go, Jordan, you fucking idiot, of course. Why are you arguing this? You know he's right. Because I've done that before, by the way. Listen back and gone, he's 100% right. Stop talking.
It's okay. No, it's okay that you're playing kind of devil's advocate. A little bit. That's fine. I think the question that we need to ask then is, is a choose your own adventure book, is it a game? Are you playing a game when you're reading a choose your own adventure book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. You're okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
If that's a game that it's in the form of a book, but it's a game.
Then just translating it into the digital medium is just making it a video game, which is a different way of having them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I see. Okay. We got there, guys.
All this just to say that text-based adventures are video games and predate Mario and the like.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. No, you're right. You're right.
No, that was a really great discussion that sprouted out of this.
No, it was cool, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I hate that I'm wrong, but, you know, it was a good discussion.
No, it's okay. It was something that we needed to talk through.
I know logically it's fine that I'm wrong, but, like, just in my core being as who Jordan is, don't like being wrong.
I get that.
Yeah.
Everyone calls me Hermione. How do you think I feel when I'm wrong?
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for listening. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us and whatever this was.
Whatever this experiment is. Hope you liked it.
Talk about what it means to be a narrative-driven game, what we enjoy as far as the storytelling in video games, and also if text-based adventures are video games. Thank you so much for listening. What kind of story-driven games do you enjoy? Or is there something that you think that we should cover on the podcast that we would really enjoy that is a narrative-based, heavily focused on storytelling game? Please let us know.
Before you suggest it, dating sims are already in the chamber, so don't worry about that. But on that too, if you also have any ideas for future discussions on the podcast, please let us know. Reach out anywhere. We're on everything. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and it's all at the 3VO podcast handle. You can also email us at 3VOpodcastteam@gmail.com. We're on TikTok. We're actually getting better about putting shit on TikTok.
We made a whole TikTok.
Today. We recorded 2 episodes of the podcast, made a TikTok. So I think if that's our ratio going forward, I think we're gonna be all right. But yeah, please, as always, just like, and even if you just want to say hi to us on a post or just like reach out to us, if you have any ideas or thoughts, questions, whatever, please reach out to us on anything. We will definitely get back to you. And as always, thank you so much for listening, guys.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.